Welcome to Liz McMullen Show. This is episode 83, and my guest is Yvonne Heidt, and I've had her on before, but that was quite many years ago, and I'm so excited to welcome her back as a multi-award-winning author.
Yay!
Yay,
that
Bonnie!
Sounds so strange. It really does. I'm looking behind me going, who?
Who are you talking about? You. I've seen you pick up awards. I've seen it. It's you. I have photographed
witnesses. Yes,
there are witnesses. So one of the exciting things is when I first interviewed you, I had only read the first in the Sisters of Spirit trilogy. And today we're going to talk about The Deadening, which is the third. But before
everybody was looking forward to since the first.
I know everybody wants to know Shade's story, and I'm so glad you wrote it, because not simply about Shade, but there really aren't a whole lot of hardcore bad girls in lesfic. They all seem to have, like, I don't know, but there aren't enough of them.
But yeah, she has that street element.
She's street. She's also a necromancer.
Yes.
And in order to kind of do what she does, she has to be strong.
All right. I think for her, it's the contrast. You know, her life was so hard that being a necromancer isn't hard at all for her.
Really?
Yeah. It just, it wasn't something that well, of course, the first time it happened, yes, but it wasn't something, she was more into protecting Sunny and Tiffany.
Mm-hmm.
Because the contrast for her didn't hurt. You know, she'd been through so much pain in her life already that it was kind of like, oh, well, this is a piece of cake.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it comes so naturally to her.
Also, I feel like the three women balance each other out very well. And I like their beginning, that they started off coming together because Sunny's dad was doing a documentary on psychic kids.
Yeah, and the way I came up with that was that that show from Psychic Kids, where they'd get those kids together for a weekend, and and the kids would talk to each other because they'd never met anybody else that was psychic or anything. Where they'd go stay in a house and spend the weekend there with a psychologist and a chip coffee. And I won't go into that right now, but that was my thing, is that what happens when they grow up? Do they still stay, are they still friends? Do they use their gifts? What happens to these little tortured kids that don't know what to do with these gifts that they have?
I feel like part of their souls were saved by that serendipitous moment of the three of them getting together. I think that they were able to grow into much healthier adults because of each other's company.
Yeah, they had each other. That's exactly what I wanted, yeah. That means I did my job.
Yay! So, what was your inspiration for Shade?
Wow, okay. Inspiration for Shade. Well, I knew when I was writing Sunny's book that Shade's would be last. Because everybody would want to read about Shade, because she was the bad girl. Mm-hmm. We all have, well, I know I have that thing for bad girls, and, before I was not confused anymore, I had a thing for bad boys. I just never grew out of it. Probably normal people grow out of it and don't chase them. I'm not sure. But Shade, I wanted to show why her gifts were so natural.
Mm-hmm.
And why she was the way she was. I mean, I knew her story before I even knew Sunny's and Tiffany's.
One of the things that I liked best about The Deadening is that you got to find out what made Lacey Shade.
Oh, I know. There'd be times I was writing scenes that tears would be running down my face.
Mm-hmm.
It was how do I want to say it? It was the hardest but easiest thing I've written.
Mm-hmm.
But what was hard was knowing these emotions personally, and pulling them up and out so I could put them into words.
Mm-hmm.
It took a lot out of me. I mean, there was days I'd write a chapter and I couldn't move for 2 weeks.
I I think of the three, I feel like not only is it fun to get to know the bad boy, but I think emotionally it's a very important book. And you're going to be not only reaching all sorts of people, including survivors, but there are going to be bad girls who read this book and see themselves.
Right. Well, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I hadn't actually thought of that. I think what I really wanted to do, too, was that show that not everybody that, people think of drug users and they put them in these cardboard cutouts, one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, and I hope to God they don't experience it. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying that there are reasons and there are stories and there are paths that people take that put them there. And life isn't easy, and sometimes people use things to, forget. But you don't really forget. It's still there. It becomes part of your personality. But, I mean, it isn't always motivated to go out and steal and murder and, it isn't always just because somebody's having fun.
Mm-hmm.
This is an addict that is an addict because, A, her parents were addicts, and, circumstance. It didn't mean that she didn't love her friends. It didn't mean that she didn't, because she loved her friends fiercely, her sisters.
I think one of the more important things that we can do as writers is to take something and make it visible. And emotionally, the reason why I said it's important is because there are reasons why Shade is the way she is. You do such a beautiful thing. Obviously, I can't tell them what it is, but you do such a beautiful thing for Lacey. And that kind of...
Are you talking about the meditation?
The rescue of sorts.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, there's so many kids who have been abused and bad things have happened to them. And it's always more powerful when you're reading a piece from somebody who has not necessarily exact same personal experiences, but it always rings truer when somebody is writing from the heart. And I feel like people can read this book and find that they too can have hope, just the way Shade unexpectedly found hope.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think Shade didn't think that she deserved that kind of love. Shade has that big albatross of Sonny leaving her.
Yes.
And throughout the entire book, she's, pushing Raven away, but mostly it's because it's for Raven. Because she doesn't want to bring her down or watch her walk away.
Yeah, and, one of the admirable qualities of Shade is her desire to protect those she cares about.
And Raven is exactly opposite from Sonny.
And, and I like that, and I also think that Sonny wasn't what Shade needed.
No,
Raven.
But, even in the beginning of the book, everybody that she's bringing home is
clone.
Exactly. Or, if she's drunk enough or crosses her eyes or, puts one foot up and one arm out, she can make them seem like Sonny.
Yeah.
Until the next day.
But, exploring why she felt that way and that abandonment and that, that if somebody as special as Sonny can't stick around, then I must not be worth loving.
Yeah.
Sonny wasn't right for her, though. Raven is right because she's a badass too. And she's not going, like, she's got this huge heart and she is light. Whereas, like, Raven is tough and she grew up in a different family and is not only not afraid or freaked out about the things that Shade can see, but often they can see the same things. And that's why, it's easy.
She turns around and kicks ass as well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I knew that Raven I knew the character had to be strong enough to handle her, but I also wanted her to be strong enough to knock her down a few notches.
Yeah, and walk away if necessary.
Exactly. Now that was hard. Putting that there, but it needed to be done.
I think
because otherwise she would have been too wishy-washy.
Who wants that though? I mean, that's not real.
But I mean, if she'd have been too wishy-washy, if she'd have let Shade walk all over her, then who's going to like Raven? I mean, yeah, they might understand because, I mean, I know how many times I chased the bad, girl.
Mm-hmm.
and getting stood up and, different things like that. I mean, but that's not a character you want to really, you might identify with her, but over the course of the story, you have to be able to show where this person grew as a person.
So how do kind of parlaying into that, Juanita, Raven's mother, did her gall darnest to keep them apart. Can you tell me a little bit about the family? I mean, obviously I know from reading this stuff, but for my listeners, talk about Raven's family and their business and whatnot.
Oh, I love them. And this is actually, nobody's safe with me. Anything that's in my memory is fair game.
Uh-huh.
And I've known families like this in my past. Families that had family businesses and, values, core values. And my ex was Hispanic, as are my children. So I was able to draw from these people that I knew. And, they're not, copies or anything, but the whole synergy was different with this family. And,
I loved Juanita because she was trying so hard. She's trying to protect her daughter, but also, I think when you have a lot of experience, sometimes you don't see the individual people. Mm-hmm. And so in her mind, Juanita was seeing necromancer and not Shade herself.
I mean, really, though, would Shade be the type of girl that you bring home to meet your mother? I don't think so.
No.
Not the way she was, She, Juanita knew Shade from being, because she was a necromancer, because, there's that subculture. There's a subculture when you do things like that, when you have gifts and you're actually using them, as employment and stuff like that. And I pictured her as a, coming from a line of witches.
Mm-hmm.
And what I loved about her was that, she wanted to keep them apart because, she would know that Shade had these addictions. She would know that she played with the dark side. It wasn't anybody she wanted her daughter to bring home. And, but I really wanted to show the struggle between Raven wanting independence but her also growing, because there comes a time when you're a teenager and you're becoming a young woman, because she's much younger than Shade.
Yes.
There comes a period where you want your independence, but I wanted to show where she knew she had been selfish and hurting people's feelings. That whole teen arc.
Yes. Yes.
And I wanted to show her on the verge of becoming a woman, as far as, oh, wow, I must have really treated her badly. I was selfish. I only wanted what I wanted,
mm-hmm.
And now I have to think of the whole rather than just the selfish view of a teenager,
mm-hmm.
stomping her down the hall and slamming doors and all that. And I wanted to put her right at that edge so she could get her independence with softness rather than being so aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And several times she's told not to use magic, and she kind of does because she's impulsive. She's young.
I know. And there are times when she wanted to really let somebody have a wallop.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
I had so much fun with Raven. I really did. I really did. And having raised teenage girls, that was easy to write. Well, and being one myself, of course, but that was many years ago.
Just a few.
Yeah, just a few.
So
even my teenagers are in their 30s now, but the emotions are still the same. The struggles for independence and becoming their own person.
So you said you knew Shade's story first, and you knew it was going to be a trilogy.
I had this idea. I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and I had a rose quartz stone, and I was just writing ideas. I have an idea box. It's like a new humidor, but it's got real pretty wood and everything. And I write down things that just come to me. I have all these pieces of paper everywhere. I could write it on anything. And I throw them into this box. And I had picked it up, and I wrote, and I had put paranormal trilogy, because I had just seen that Psychic Kids. Mm-hmm. And I had that question, what happens when they grow up? So I wrote it down. And I put it in my idea box with a piece of rose quartz. Now, who in their right mind starts a trilogy for their sophomore effort? It's a good thing I didn't know how hard it would be, or I probably wouldn't have wrote it yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, but to be validated with that and the Awakening winning awards, that was I'm so grateful for that. I mean, grateful on a level that I really can't explain. It's just that deep soul validation.
Mm-hmm.
So that it wasn't just, okay, you're just not a one-shot wonder.
Uh-huh.
You can do this. For me, that was important because I'm such a and I'll just be blatant about it. I mean, I probably don't know very many few people that are as insecure as I am.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on me. That's on me. But a lot of that had to do with all the stuff that was going on and me not knowing I was psychic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, knowing I was psychic, but not, oh no, I'm just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't stop until Sheila. And now I give impromptu readings to people on the phone.
That's so
I
cool.
said, oh, so-and-so's here and they said this and they're wearing this and this is what they're doing. And I get validation on it all the time. I mean, nothing that I'm doing professional. I'm nothing, or as good as Sheila. But I mean, little things that I say, and these are to people that I know. Well, actually, I did go up to somebody one time and tell them that their mother was there. And I think that given the chance, being that I was a lesbian and according to him, a witch, he's very biblical.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, I better not go around outside after dark. He's going to be laying in wait for me. I am in the Bible Belt, so yeah.
I don't know. That's why I like to watch the Long Island Medium.
Oh, I love her. I love her.
She is epic, and not just because of her hair and her nails.
No.
But
and then I totally get it when she says something and it's right, and she's shocked at herself. That's what happens to me all the time. I'm just like, oh, really?
I love it. I love watching her. I love watching her just go about her life, and she can't help but share what she sees and experiences. And she's so genuine. She's definitely, if I could meet someone in person.
I'd love to have coffee with her or something like that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
anyway.
I'm actually thumbing through the pages.
Uh-huh.
And it's exciting.
The book?
Yeah, for me. Mm-hmm. I'm looking because I have the book in my hand and I'm turning pages, and she needs distractions from her distractions. She doesn't like to be alone.
It's very rare for you to get to see inside the head of somebody who generally holds their true feelings so close to the vest. And that's what I find so valuable about reading, is that with internal dialogue and narrative, you can make something that no one would ever know and bring it to the page. The silent types, that doesn't mean their brain is silent.
Exactly. My brain is never silent, but I can sit in a room full of people and look out the window and I'm having five different conversations in my head. Mm-hmm. A typical thing where, what are you doing as I'm looking out the window? I'm working. That's where all the ideas are. That's where these girls are so real to me. All these characters, I expect Christmas cards from them.
Oh, yes. You and I were talking about this on the phone, and I feel the same way. And I actually have a few books on the shelf that I haven't even gotten into, but each and every one of them is extremely real to me. And you had mentioned that it was kind of like a video game, where when you go back into the video game and you're not, in the midst of action, they're kind of jostling.
Just kind of stasis, kind of bouncing just a little bit on their feet. Like, where am I going? Which direction are you going to put me? And I get to drop into that at any time, and pick up where I left off.
It's so much fun. Writing can be so much fun. And I feel like, for the most part, the people who I write are people I'd like to hang out with or spend time with, and I'm like, sometimes I'm kind of bummed that they can't come out of the book and hang out with me.
I know, right? That's the problem I have with reality TV shows.
Yeah.
I get to know the characters, quote, hand quote, you can't see that, but it's almost as if I know them, and were I to run into them on the street, I would think, that we hung out.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you do one that's a marathon day,
Uh-huh.
you spend like 3 days with them or whatever. You're watching the series one after the other.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently doing that with Scandal, and I just get to know the characters so well that I think I should be hanging out with them. Why aren't they calling me?
After our conversation, I was
call, you don't write,
you don't sing me love songs, you don't send me flowers.
Exactly.
Like I was thinking about after you and I finished our conversation, I was thinking about how getting to know an artist is very similar. Like I like Pink, but I like Pink not just because of her music. Mm-hmm. I like her because of what I've learned about her through interviews and what she says.
Exactly.
And so I feel like I know her. And the reason why I dig her and identify with her is because she shared so much of herself. But it's not like I can walk in a room and go like, hey, Pink, what's up?
Yeah. Exactly. I know that and I've already forgotten. We were going to talk. Everybody, I finished The Quickening with Tiffany and Kat. Mm-hmm. That story arc was finished, and I left everybody hanging. And that got quite a bit more controversy than I thought it would.
Really?
But I did finish the story. But I think the thing about my trilogy is that you really do need to read each one. Yeah. Yes, they're all standalone romances. Mm-hmm. But the interpersonal relationships go throughout the whole series.
One of the things that I thought was really rich and interesting about that book between Tiffany and Kat was the past life blending. And also, and you'll find this out, anybody who reads my stuff, I like having a really prescient child in my stories. Mm-hmm. I like having a very, very smart little girl. Somebody who's
Angel. Who doesn't love Angel?
Angel is just so.
And the way that she goes up to Shade.
I know.
The deadening. They have a connection as well.
She's just so special.
I think I made Shade more human by giving her the challenges that she had. Mm-hmm. Everybody else would run Necromancer, especially with her appearance, and she made her appearance so that people aren't, going to be in her face. Mm-hmm. She wears it like a shield. Mm-hmm. At the same time, which I find sexy, but that's me. It's kind of like with my attraction, it was always the long hair and the pretty, mm-hmm. And my kids, they liked boys that always had shaved heads, or that was that trend. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I worry, especially when I'm writing younger characters, am I projecting? Mm-hmm. And how can I not project? Because, I'm writing real from me. Mm-hmm. How can I not project the same things? And, or the same music, because I don't listen to today's music, really. Mm-hmm. Kind of stuck in the past. So with her, that's why I didn't bring any up.
Mm-hmm. I really love, I don't know if it's a device, but, in the two novels that I've completed, both of them have, these children who, Old Soul just doesn't cover it. They're just so powerful.
No, they're the new hope.
Yeah.
There's new hope, and they're children that I believe are coming in, and they're going to help save us. Mm-hmm. Every time and it's like my dad, he's like a news junkie. That news channel goes all the time, and it's like his whole life has become fear-based because of it. Mm-hmm. About all the stuff going on all over the place, and there's nothing but tragedy and chaos, and it's so frightening to me that I draw even more into myself, mm-hmm. But then I'll see something and I'll search for it online, and there's these miracles, these children, the prodigies that are coming that are reincarnated and brought their gifts forward. The amazing piano players and guitar players and singers, and look at the, Jackie Evancho? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the opera she had to have brought that gift forward with her. You don't just start singing opera and not bring it forward with you, because what's your point of reference?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they're retaining more of their memories and more of their spirit, and they're open in ways that the person that has shut themselves off, I mean, they are so open to the positive energy and change and being connected, that it gives me so much hope for the future. They don't have to be tortured like I was as a child with having these gifts and not being able to talk about them,
mm-hmm.
not having anybody believe you, or having the church scream that you're a sinner. There's a whole different paradigm for them today, and I'm so happy for that.
I think the first time that I read the concept, and it's something that's always appealed to me, was when I read about Dune. My father had nicknamed me Alia because of the way that I was as a child was not the way a child. I'm more of a child as an adult than I was as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because,
me too. Old soul, yeah.
Yeah, so it was just, I was saying things that little girls don't say. Yeah. And now I'm a playful adult. Now I'm a playful and silly adult. That's the, I don't know. I'm all out of sequence, but sometimes that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to iron out my plot.
So what did you want to get back to on? I'm trying to keep myself reined in.
Well,
so
I do
have. What did you feel about the when she was in the coma and the scenes? Did you realize? Was it clear to you that they what she was going through was actually what was going on in the real world, but she was perceiving it different in her coma?
Well, there were a lot of. I think that for me, I got a partial cautionary tale. They were helping her heal, and when they were helping her heal, it affected what the dreamscape was like the plane that she was on. Mm-hmm. But also the important: do not drag her back just because you want her all better. You don't know who she's going to bring with her.
Exactly. And the fact that Raven just goes in all, falls to the wall.
She's just like, whoop! I'm going to jump the line in the bus, and sometimes we need those people who, she's like, she dreamwalked, like she got to her. Mm-hmm. And I liked, well, I don't know how you wrote it. It was so complex, like how you described this really horrific experience, because not only was she mentally going through something, but she had been horribly injured from the bomb going off. Mm-hmm. And so her body was in pain. And it reminds me of the other day I woke up, in my dream I was having pain. And when I woke up, I realized my arm had gone numb. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes things that you're physiologically experience kind of leak into your...
Or just like, you're in the middle of a dream and you see a frog or whatever, and the frog opens his mouth and the alarm sounds.
Yes, exactly.
That's happened to me.
Those damn frog alarms. I do have a question that's kind of, it's more of a authorly question than directly to the book. Which of the five senses do you depend on as a person? Which of the five senses is most prevalent?
Oh, wow. I don't just see things with my eyes, though. Mm-hmm. So, do you ever hear the expression, turn down the radio, I can't see? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to say that all the time. Turn down the radio, I can't see. Or if the TV's too loud, I can't, I'm uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Because it messes with my thought process. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but I know that the turn down the radio I can't see, mm-hmm. because I use all of them, and the older I am, I think the older I am is, now I'm into my crone years, mm-hmm. and which is supposed to be full of wisdom, so I figure, this is when I'm supposed to share all this stuff, mm-hmm. How a healthy person would get through it, or how you could begin the process.
When you're writing, do you find that there's any one sense that is more prevalent, like in your descriptions, or is there just an amalgam of the five senses and with a dash of the sixth?
I go inside. I go to the gut. I go straight to my emotions and memories. Yeah, I pull them out and I put them on the desk and I play with them metaphorically, of course. And then I try my best to put that into words that would convey the emotion. Now, when I read that back, is it going to give me the emotion that I was shooting for? That doesn't always happen. And then I have to go back and go back and go back until I can read it and feel the exact, like a puppet master. You know, I'm going to write these words and it's going to make me feel this way, like that. You know, and it's a process. It's a process.
Do you have any writing heroes or storytelling heroes that have impacted you as a writer?
I would say my first, I think Jack London wrote The White Fang and Call of the Wild. Now, even at 52, you know, I read those books when I was 5 or 6. I was an avid reader at 3. You know, that's something I had to have brought forward. And any writer that can make me feel what they're intending. You know, because sometimes I can read a book and I almost get there, and one word can throw me right back out. You know, because when I'm reading, I'm in that world. I'm in Paris, or I'm, you know, Danielle Steel was fun for that in the beginning. None of her later books. In the beginning, Danielle Steel could bring me to Paris. You know, these mansions in Beverly Hills, and not her so much. Who's the Jackie Collins? I used to love the 80s trash novels. You know, where they'd go for generations, but I mean, they were just, you know, I love those. I just love those.
Oddly enough, I have.
But the other day, I don't have a whole bunch of literature under my belt. I read for enjoyment because, you know, I grew up in we were impoverished. My mom worked. Don't tell, you know, I mean, it's not that anybody didn't work, but it was, you know, that was our entertainment. We didn't take family vacations. We didn't have outings. We didn't have a car. You know, we lived in the city in San Francisco. And reading was my everything. You know, I even made my own little library by stacking boxes and taping them together, and I made my own Dewey Decimal System.
That is so cute.
And I'd lend them to my friends, but I actually didn't really have friends. So, I mean, I'd make it for friends, but I didn't have any, you know, that stuck around. You know, I have been so blessed as an adult to find the people that I feel I have spiritual contracts with, you know, that it's like, oh, there you are. Thank you. I've been missing you. And, you know, before I even meet them. And my friend Marilee is one of those.
I had to pause, guys. I took it out, but my puppy was at the door snuffling loudly because he could smell me.
You're in there.
It's
I
like,
can hear you.
I know you're in there, Mama.
Yeah.
He's
I have them, so yeah, I don't even get to go to the bathroom by myself. They all think I'm going to fall in the toilet or something.
Oh my God, he freaks out if I leave him alone. My poor sick dog. So just because that's the way I roll, we're going to switch gears. And first I have to chastise you for giving me an incomplete book because I want to read the whole thing.
Well, this is because people are used to paranormal from me. You know, because that's what I write, and I know it, you know, and I can write it. And I have this book, and it's a character much like myself, but somebody that's totally ADD. You know, and stays mad for 5 seconds and doesn't understand why nobody else doesn't. You know, it's like, oh, that was 5 minutes ago. I'm talking about now. You know, because I was like that. You know, with my kids, I'd only be mad for, you know, a little while. So they'd always call me if they got in trouble at school. They'd call first, so I'd be mad. By the time they got home, I wouldn't be mad anymore.
Smart kids.
Yeah, definitely. Desiree was really good for that. She'd say, "Mom, I got in trouble," and then, you know, 5 hours later, come home, or I'd come home from work, and I wasn't mad anymore. So I wanted to write a character that was that fluctuated like that, and that's Aislinn. So this book is called Along Came Aislinn, and she's one of 5 girls in an Irish family, and she's the middle one, and she's just goes with the flow.
You know, I love how, like, I love her brain. I like being inside her head. I enjoy her. And I also like being inside Zane's head. And one of the interesting things that I learned from a class that I'd taken is, like, what people say is not always connected to what they think, and they don't always mean what they say. And I think one of the fun things in this particular book, which is a comedy rather than a paranormal,
exactly,
is what's going on in their head.
Well, she's actually, I'm just going to say it flat out. She's an airhead, and I love that about her. It doesn't have any effect on her work or what she does, but, a little background on it is that she's from the other side. She considers herself from the other side of the tracks. And her issue with Zane is that she's, born with a silver spoon in her mouth, and she thinks of herself as, less than, because she was hurt really bad in the past with somebody that had money.
And now I'm sitting here and I really want to get back to that book, but it's not finished, and I'm very upset with you. Because I love it so much.
I'm having a ball writing that, and it's a really welcome change after writing Shade, because Shade was a very complex character, and I had to tie all my threads from the series. Mm-hmm. So that had to carry through 3 books, and I also have another one that's going to come after Along Came Aislinn, and it's going to be right along the same lines, just but it's going to be Living with Lila.
Oh.
Along the lines of Jennifer Cruzy, those kind of comedy romances. So we'll try my hand at that. And, I've done polls, and I've mentioned it several times on different social media platforms. Would you read something from me that wasn't a paranormal? Mm-hmm. And everybody said, of course. Well, if they didn't say they wouldn't, they never answered me. To my face anyway. Or to my page, however you want to put that. But it's just like, silly things that happen, and they're airheaded and they're ditzy, but they're so funny you have to share them.
It's fun.
Like turning the hand that you're holding your coffee with to look at your watch and pouring it in your lap. I mean, that happens to me.
Do you know how often I have been the last time I remember, I think it was in the city, and I would be tilting my drink while having something that has a straw in it, and pouring it on myself.
Oh, yeah. So I'd like to open that for, anybody listening when they listen to the show. If they have any more questions for Shade, they're welcome to post them, and I'll answer them.
Oh, that sounds cool.
So I have no problem with that whatsoever. I enjoy it when readers connect, and I enjoy it when they ask questions. Or if they have one, where did this come from? Or, what were you thinking? Because sometimes I don't know until I go back and read it myself.
Yeah, I encourage everybody listening to open up a dialogue in the comment section, which is
to answer all questions.
Yeah, and it's right beneath. You'll see it's right beneath, and don't worry if your comment doesn't pop up immediately. I screen them all, because sometimes people say things that I don't want to have on my website.
Oh, I totally get that.
I'm all about the love, people. I'm all about the love.
Be contrary, yeah.
I mean, like, somebody can have a strong opinion. I just don't like when people get mean. So that's how I prevent it.
Exactly. So, I'd love to know if you enjoyed the trilogy, and, what you thought about the story arc. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
That's so awesome. Yvonne, I always love my time with you.
Oh, I do too. I don't. You said that we got to all the questions. You reassured me, because I can't even tell you what I said 3 minutes ago.
Well, as an interviewer, I have questions, but sometimes you answer other questions that haven't been voiced.
Oh, okay.
Or at the same time, I might be connecting with you on another level.
It's always a fun journey when I talk with you, Liz.
It's fantastic.
And that's what it is, because, I could go from A to Z to B to L to C. Maybe I'll get around to Q,
I think we were remarkably linear considering the way we roll. I feel like we were much more organized this time around than in our first interview, so good for
Well,
us.
that was my first interview, so, yeah.
Was it really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that makes me feel special.
Oh, actually, I had done a vlog with Carson.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a short one, and she put me at ease because I was so nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had put something in the comments, so I went, wow, I'm charming. Anybody else would look at that and think, oh, my God, she's conceited. But no, I was surprised because I thought, who wants to talk to me,
You're fabulous. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Liz, for having me. It's always wonderful to be there. And, anytime you need a slot filled, just give me a call.
Will do.